Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into the latest vlog update from the Gavin Partridge YouTube channel. So we are now less than a week away from the 2024 UK general election. This time next week we will know what's happened and who's going to be the government, who's going to be the opposition, etc, etc. We have got a few days worth of polls still left to go though. And we've had loads and loads of polls in the last 48 hours since we did the last polling roundup on Wednesday. We've also had a new prediction from Electoral Calculus that we're going to talk about in this video, and there's been an MRP poll just released, hot off presses, from Survation. So we'll go through all of the data and all of the numbers and the prediction for Electoral Calculus in a second. It could be quite a long video. Just say that if you're enjoying the vlogs on the channel, please do like, share, subscribe, and show it to everybody for doing that. Drop a comment underneath the video. Let's know what I think about all of this. Right, well, let's deal with the prediction from Electoral Calculus first of all then. So, here we go, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom! There we go, we have got a Labour majority of 280 seats, absolutely massive, the biggest majority, I think, that in British political history. And it's 16 up on the last prediction from Electoral Calculus as well. Let's just put my leg up. It's 16 seats up on the last prediction from Electoral Calculus. Let's go through the numbers then for this extraordinary prediction. We've got Conservatives just here, Labour, Liberal Democrats, Reform, Greens, SNP, Plaid and others through here. 2019 votes and seats. Remember, predictive votes and seats columns just here. So the Conservatives with Electoral Calculus, based on the opinion polls that have been released over the past week or so, predicted to be on just 21.2% of the vote. Labour on 40.4% of the vote. Liberal Democrats on 11.7%, virtually where they were in 2019. Reform on 14.9% of the vote. Greens on 5.8%, SNP on 3%. And Plaid on 0.6% of the vote. But check out the party columns. If you think that's dramatic, check out the seat columns, I should say. So we've got the Conservatives with a predicted seat share of just 165 seats. At the low end, they could go down as low as 24, and at the high end, they could be as high as 170. Which is only a few above what they got in 1997. That's at the high end of the margin for error. Labour on a predicted vote share of, or a predicted seat share, I should say, of 465 seats. At the low end, they could be as low as 338. No, that's still above. Note that is still above the 3 to 6 they need to form an overall majority government. The high end, they could be as high as 510 seats. Now check out the Liberal Democrats, because they are on a predicted seat share of 71 seats. So the predicted median seat share for the Liberal Democrats is above the predicted median seat share for the Conservatives. That's the first time that's happened, I think, and that would see the Liberal Democrats becoming the official opposition on purely the raw seat numbers there. The Liberal Democrats will become official opposition. On the high end, they could go as high as 82 seats. At the low end, they could be as low as 48. This is all due to tactical voting as well. Their vote share is barely unchanged on the 11.8 they got in 2019, which yielded them just 8 seats. But this time, they're getting a lot of tactical voting. Labour voters voting tactically in Conservative Liberal Democrat seats. Reform on a predicted seat share of just 6 seats, despite having nearly 15% of the vote. However, there's a big margin of error, that big question mark about Reform. So at the high end, they could be as high as 63 seats. At the low end, they could be as low as 3. How many seats Reform get if the Conservatives came away with 65 would be interesting. Could Reform and the Conservatives do some sort of deal that keeps the Conservatives or keeps the right of the political pendulum as the official opposition, scuppers the Liberal Democrats? That would be something interesting to ponder after the election. Greens on just 3 seats, but that's 2 up on the 1 they got in 2019. Margin for error sees them as low as potentially as low as 1 seat, as high as 5 seats. SNP go down to 18 seats, although it could be as high as 38, it could be as low as 7, and Plaid on 3 seats, they could be as high as 5, they could be as low as 2, and then the others of the Northern Irish parties are down here. So a very dramatic prediction from Electoral Calculus. Once again, 280 seat Labour majority. These are the opinion polls that prediction is based upon. We've done the last polling round we give on Wednesday when we signed off with Norstat, and check out all the polls that have been released since then, and a couple before the Norstat poll have appeared actually that we didn't cover on the last polling roundup. They appeared late. So let's deal with YouGov and DeltaPoll first of all. So YouGov found the Conservatives on 18%, Labour on 36%, Liberal Democrats on 15%, SNP on 3%, Greens on 8%, and Reform just one behind the Conservatives on 17%. Overall Labour lead with YouGov of 18% over the Conservatives. And then we had DeltaPoll, which also appeared rather late as well. And they had the Conservatives on 20%, Labour were on 42%, quite a bit higher than YouGov had them. Liberal Democrats on 11%, SNP on 3%, Greens on 4%, and Reform on 17%. Overall Labour lead with DeltaPoll of 22%. By the way, I have not got time to do the comparisons for this video because there's lots and lots of polls to get through. Right, well, all of the polls above Norstat here have, we've not talked about those, they've been released since the last polling roundup, and, you know, they are current polls as well. So let's deal with more in common. So they found the Conservatives on 23% and Labour on 40%, Liberal Democrats on 11%, SNP 3%, Greens 5%, and Reform on 14%. Overall Labour lead with more in common of 17%. People polling, BMG is the next one, sorry for the I. They have the Conservatives on 20%, Labour on 42%, Liberal Democrats on 12%, SNP 3%, Greens 6%, and Reform 16%. Overall Labour lead of 22% there with BMG. People polling turned up, and again they have the Conservatives as low as 15%, Labour on 40%, Liberal Democrats on 9%, SNP on 2%, they've got Greens on 9%, and they've got Reform on 21%. Reform 6 percentage points above the Conservatives there. That people polling poll. Overall Labour lead over Reform, not Conservatives, of 19% there with people polling. Redfield and Wilton with a 5,000 sample poll shows the Conservatives on 19%, Labour on 42%, Liberal Democrats on 11%, SNP on 3%, Greens on 5%, and Reform on 18% there, with Redfield Wilton again just one behind the Conservatives. Overall Labour lead of 23%. Then after that we had Techney show up again with Conservatives on 19%, and many of these polls now are placed with Conservatives under 20%, which, you know, is something that I never thought I would see the Conservative Party going down that low. This is an extraordinary election, but Techney has Conservatives on 19%, Labour on 41%, Liberal Democrats on 12%, SNP 3%, Greens 5%, Reform 17%, overall Labour lead of 22%. Whitestone Insights is the next poll, showed up earlier on today, with the Conservatives down to just 18%, Labour on 38%, a little bit lower there with that poll, 11% for the Liberal Democrats, SNP on 2%, Greens on 7%, and Miss Reform above the Conservatives by 3 percentage points on 21%. That is an overall Labour lead over Reform of 17% there with Whitestone Insights. And then we have also had We Think with the Conservatives on 20%, Labour on 42%, Liberal Democrats on 10%, SNP on 3%, Greens on 7%, and Reform on 16%, overall Labour lead of 22%. So when you average it all out, Labour, still roughly with that 20% lead, but it's not changed. Despite everything else that's going on, Conservatives dropping, Reform surging, generally, on most of these polls, Labour are hovering around a 20% mark if you average it out. Some of the polls have them a little bit above 20%, some of the polls have them a little bit below 20%. So if you put like the average figure of all the polls, then it's roughly a 20% lead. That's been the situation we've seen for months and months and months. The election campaign has not made any difference to that, despite all of the other dramatic things that are going on. Right, Survation hasn't been added with their MRP poll yet, but we have had a Survation MRP as well. So let's deal with that. So this is the penultimate MRP poll from Survation of this general election. So there'll be one more some point next week. They are saying that the Labour Party, but Labour is on course to win a 470 seats. Not sure what majority is with that, but it's going to be well over 200, and they will become the largest party in Scotland again as well. And the seat number is looking like this. So they've got Labour with 470 seats, as it says up there. They've got the Conservatives still as the official opposition, but down to 85 seats. Liberal Democrats reclaim their third place as the third party in Parliament with 56 seats. SNP on 12 seats. Reform pick up 4 seats. Plaid Cymru 3 seats, and Greens are on 2 seats with the Survation MRP poll. Note that the Conservatives, that is a catastrophic result. It's virtually wipe out, but they do just about manage to hang on to official opposition status there with that Survation poll. And they have the polling asked 23,364 people was conducted between the 15th and the 27th of June. Where should we go? We go back to Electoral Calculus. Wow, wow, wow. What a general election this is turning out to be. Historic election. Let me sit myself up. Historic election. And it's just less than a week away now. So what's going to happen? Will Labour pick up this plus 200 seat majority? People took me to task for calling it a super majority. Let's just say a mega landslide majority, shall we? Biggest majority in British political history. Probably there is an example of 1931. That's a slightly different election, but anything over 200 I think would be like the biggest majority in British political history. So will Labour get that massive majority? Will the Conservatives be completely wiped out? Will the Liberal Democrats become the official opposition? What's going to happen with Reform? And, if the Conservatives do tumble into third place and the Liberal Democrats become like the official opposition on seat numbers, will there be some sort of deal with the Conservatives and Reform that means they can hang on to their status as the official opposition? It's all to be revealed, and we will know in less than a week now. So there's going to be more polling data, lots more polling data actually to come over the next week or so. We'll be keeping you updated here on the channel, and yeah, we're nearly there, Bo. So just a few more days to go, and then we'll know how this election is panning out. So don't go anywhere. We will be doing another polling roundup for you, the final Saturday night polling roundup of this general election tomorrow night, probably between 9 and 10 p.m. So watch out for that. But for this one, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a comment, let me know what you think is going to happen with all of this, and we'll be back with another polling roundup tomorrow. For this one, that's all for now, and thanks so much.